On today's Try to Finish Something, I got a couple things to do right up front. Probably should have shaved. First, people were asking about my daughter's submission to her broadcasting class, the film project that I did some of the props for. I also starred as the security guard and the killer in the video, and a lot of you had asked if you could see what it was that she turned in for her movie trailer. Marcus Allen is also mentioned in this. Here's her video.
Now, it's been over 15 years, and there has been no word or contact with the residents of Glen Oak.
The government is still not allowing contact with the small town in the woods.
The protests have stopped, but it is all still a mystery.
What is the government hiding?
What happened to the residents of Glen Oak?
The other thing I wanted to do is mention those that had gotten subscribers to the Try to Finish Something YouTube channel, and I gave away a lot of shirts. I gave away shirts to John, Jerry, Tim, Bill C, and Jeff. A big thank you for getting subscribers to the channel, and your shirts are on the way. The other person that I gave a shirt away to was Odin of Odin Makes. He's been great. I've been a giant pain in the ass asking him questions all the time, and he's been a huge support and help, and I drove a shirt to him. I was supposed to go in my 1967 Volkswagen bus. Nothing is wrong with the bus. It's just in order for me to make it to see Odin, he had just pulled an all-nighter, and I was going to have to drive during rush hour traffic and drop my daughter off at school on the way, and my wife was concerned since the bus doesn't have headrest. Not for me. She just didn't want to endanger my daughter. So we did drop off the shirt, and here's a shot of Odin in the shirt. And he was a great sport about it. I would have never, ever put on a shirt that was that sexy, if you know what I mean. But I've got the proper size ordered, and it will be delivered to him. But now, while I was there, I did get a chance to talk to him and Joe. Joe is somebody that Odin has on the channel all the time doing airbrush painting, and we were talking about techniques for weathering and painting, and they use a lot of shoe polish, which I've never done. I use oils and craft paints and things like that, but it ties into today's episode because I've had people like James C., yeah, I'm looking at you, James, that have asked questions about weathering techniques for weathering a helmet, and if I could give a little more detail. And I'm going to be doing a Remnant Trooper from the Mandalorian using a Black Series Stormtrooper helmet, but I don't want to just jump in and immediately do it with that helmet. What I would like to do is create one of those Stormtrooper heads on a pike that the rebels put out to warn the Imperials to stay away. I'm going to create one of those heads on a pike, and I'm going to weather it. And that's what I'm going to do on today's Try to Finish Something. So I bought this cheap helmet on eBay. I actually bought 3 of them for this project to display my Mandalorian cosplay as, background medieval style warnings as seen on the show. Helmets on spikes. This helmet is slush cast or it's vacuum formed. I don't know. It's cheap, but it has enough detail to work for what I'm trying to do. I'm going to paint this with way more detail than needed, since in the end, I'm just going to destroy it. But I wanted to practice my Mandalorian Remnant Trooper paint techniques. First, for the chipping. I'm not going to do a full repaint, painting it black and then using toothpaste or chipping fluid, then painting white over it and exposing the chips. I may do that for my Black Series helmet, but for this, I'll just show you a quick and dirty technique to get some pretty decent results. We need to do all of the black chippings first. You see, weathering is all about layers and determining which is the deepest down layer and then just building upwards with your weathering, creating the layers to, pull off the effect. I'm going to destroy this brush, but it will actually work to my favor. I am painting the chips with spray paint. I'm spray painting outside onto a paper plate and then painting with this brush. The bristles are almost useless as the paint dries, but that's actually perfect. I don't want brush strokes, and the reason I'm using spray paint is I just don't want to wait for the paint to dry, and spray paint just dries really quickly. I dab the black spray paint on and keep turning the brush so that I get different patterns and angles for the chips. You definitely don't want a predictable pattern, and you want it to look really random. Try and focus on the high points that would get worn and chipped off. The other part in this paint job that would wear is the deep parts where the water and grime would settle, causing the finish of the helmet to corrode. This is going to be a bit scary and look really dark, but remember, we haven't started with the other layers yet. Keep going until you're happy with the amount of chips. Now, I'm just using some brown and black cheap craft paint watered down. Put it on with a brush and then pat off with a paper towel. Remember, no brush strokes. Keep changing the color of the weathering by touching a bit more brown or black or water and create your first layer of wear. Let me try that shoe polish that Joe and Odin were talking about. Oh God, I hate it. I hate it. It might just be this material, but it doesn't wipe off and it stains way too quickly. I'm going back to craft paints. Keep at it and be patient, layer after layer, altering your techniques for wiping and change the amount of pigment in the paint on your brush. This helmet was not painted very well at all, so I'm having to really get paint into some of the areas to fix their paint job. Another thing that I love to do is drips. Put some paint very watery and then blow the drip in the direction that the actual drip on the helmet would flow. And then add more and more paint to your brush and the drip of the paint will follow that path. I love this realistic looking effect. Here's my secret weapon, paint pigments. This will give you that tan orange dust effect. A little pigment goes a long way. Add a tiny bit of water and create your desert dust layer. If this was my black series or just a Remnant Trooper display, I would probably add a clear matte layer and call it done. But now, I'm going to ruin it. Outside for damage. I have to make the exit hole for the pike. I'm also going to do a slash down the front, then the kill shot in the back of the head where the cowardly rebels killed this trooper. Long live the Empire. A bit more wear, then back inside to paint up this damage. I'm darkening up some red to have a blood tone underneath all of the dark colors that I'll be adding next. I'm using brown and black oil paints because I really like that greasy look of them, and I think it looks like, I don't know, carbon scoring. I use my fingers and paint brushes to apply it. I then take some material that I've soaked in brown and black paint and shove the helmet through a dowel with the material hanging out of the bottom. That's not bad for an afternoon of work. I really hope you enjoyed this episode and got some useful tips out of it. If you did, please subscribe and tell a friend. But as always, if you didn't, just keep it to yourself. And we'll see you next time as we try to finish something.